All right, well, hello. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Welcome to our Strength in Community webinar, part two. And for those of you that joined us on a few of our previous seminars and webinars, we wanted to welcome you back and thank you for joining us again. My name is Jason Neiman, and I'll be your host today. I would like to introduce a few of the people that we've got on here as our panelists today from our residents. But before I do that, I'd love to turn it over to Anna Ford, our marketing specialist, and have her introduce you to Covenant Woods and give you a little bit of a background there. And then from there, we'll kick it off and we'll start to get into some of the resident panel questions. So thank you, Anna. Thanks for having us today.
Great. Thank you, Jason. Again, a big thank you to our panelists for joining us as well. And Jason is with Good Brand Company. Good Brand Company is our marketing agency that we work with out of Charlotte, North Carolina. So I appreciate you organizing this for us today. I did want to take just a moment to tell you a little bit about Covenant Woods and kind of what we're all about and what we offer. Something that sets us apart from other communities that you might visit or know of is that we are independently owned and led. So we are what's called a continuing care retirement community or a life plan community. And what that means is we're a residential community for individuals who are 62 years of age or older. We are, again, a life plan community that offers right-sized residences. So we have many different floor plans of apartments and cottages that will fit your needs as you downsize. We offer a comprehensive list of services and amenities that are included in your monthly fee at Covenant Woods. And most importantly, we offer a continuum of care. So should you need to move to assisted living or memory care or skilled nursing care, everything is right here under one roof. We're specifically an accredited, not-for-profit continuing care retirement community. So just as colleges can be accredited, so can communities like ours. We're located in Hanover County and have 135 years under our belt of caring for seniors, and again, offer the life care, which is really the best plan for the future. So I hope you all will enjoy our session today as we talk to some of our residents, and you'll have an opportunity at the end to find out ways to learn more about Covenant Woods, as well as a time for questions and answers. So Jason, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Anna. Appreciate it. So let me do this. Before we get started, I'd love to introduce our lovely panelists today. It's nice of you all to join us, and I hope you're all staying warm. The first person I'd like to start off with is Susan Domkowski. How are you today, Susan?
I'm fine. How are you? It's nice to be here.
I'm glad you're here. Thank you very much. Buddy and Sarah Jo Williams are also with us as well.
Hello, glad to be here.
Good to see you both. And last but not least, of course, we have Mr. Bob Tate. How are you, Bob?
Doing fine, thank you.
Good.
Wonderful day.
Absolutely. Glad to see you all today. What I'd like to do maybe at the beginning here is just to give a little background on who you are, where you came from, a little bit about your careers, your history, your family. So I'm going to go ahead and start with Susan, if that's okay. Susan, we'll
Sure.
go ahead and get some information from you on that. So if you just want to give us a little bit of background on yourself, that'd be great.
Okay. I was born in Pennsylvania, Western Pennsylvania, went to school there, met my husband, we moved to Ohio, then to Virginia, then to Arkansas, then we retired and came back here to New Kent County. And when my house got to be a little bit too much, we decided to look around for something else. And lo and behold, here's Covenant Woods to meet our needs. So here I am.
That's awesome. What about family? Do you have kids or?
Oh, absolutely, which is the convenient part. My son just lives several miles from Covenant Woods, so I have his family, and it works out wonderfully well. Of course, they're so busy, you don't get a chance to see them very much, but they enjoy coming here.
That's true. I understand that. Appreciate it. Well, thank you for giving us that, Susan. Buddy and Sarah Jo, can you give us a little bit background on yourselves?
I was born in Charlotte, North Carolina, went to college in North Carolina, and moved to Virginia after I graduated. Met Buddy and have been in Virginia ever since. We lived in the Fan District in Richmond for 44 years. We decided it was time to downsize, and so we started looking around, and here we are. We don't have children of our own, but we have 4 godchildren, 2 recognized with the church and 2 who self-selected.
That's a great way to put it. And Buddy, anything you'd like to add?
Well, I was not born in Charlotte. I was born in Warsaw, Virginia, about 50 miles from here. And as Sarah Jo said, we've been married for a few years, so our lives are pretty parallel. But we both started as English teachers, then became school counselors, and it's been a good ride.
That's great. Well, thank you for joining us today. And Bob Tate, you want to give us a little background on you?
Shut me off if I go too long. I was born in Richmond, lived a lot of my life in neighboring Henrico County, moved back to Hanover where my roots are. My family I've traced was here in 1750, so I'm home. I have 5 children, 4 living. I've lost 2 wives. I served 4 years in Uncle Sam's Navy and 40 years with a property, casualty, and life insurance company managing the Virginia operation for a Pennsylvania company. And I'm retired and living here. I've lost 2 wives, and being here has been one of the greatest things I've ever done.
Wow. Sounds like a rich history with ups and downs all along the way, but you are a positive light there, which is great.
Well, one thing I love walking, and I walked in all 50 states and all 51 capitals and 5 foreign countries. So,
Wow, you're kidding.
no, serious.
Wow, that's incredible. All right, I'm just going to shut that off. It looks like we're having a little bit of technical issues there, so I'll just shut that off. Let me ask you, Buddy and Sarah Jo, how long have you lived at Covenant Woods?
We moved here the week that the lodge opened, which was October of 2014.
And what's life been like since you've been there?
It's been pretty much what we were told it would be like, as we anticipated. The home we moved from was over 100 years old, 8 rooms. It's been wonderful to move to an apartment, 1 bedroom and a den, which is just enough space for us to move around in. It's all been all right.
Yeah. And what about you, Susan? How long have you lived at Covenant Woods?
Let's see, at the end of this month, it will be 5 years.
And what's life been like for you over this 5-year period?
It's been fun. It's been busy. It's been great.
Yeah. Any interesting stories that you'd like to share with us from the time you moved in or anything like that?
Well, when I moved in, I thought, okay, I'm a new widow. I would be sitting in my apartment with my dogs, reading and watching TV, and that lasted probably a week. And then I got involved and met an awful lot of friends, and it kind of went from there. So now I'm lucky if I get to sit down and watch Netflix.
Yeah.
It's been a busy time, but it's been good for me.
Yeah. And Bob, I know you're part of the resident council. Can you explain a little bit about what the resident council is and how you're involved in that?
The resident council actually is a communication device that we deal with problems or questions that the residents here have, that things they'd like to see improved. So we're the avenue, the channel that connects administration and the residents. This is my 2nd term. The terms are 3 years in length. You have to stay off a year before you can come back. I kind of accidentally got back on for a second term, and I'm about almost finished my first year of my second term. So it actually is a way of conveying concerns that the residents have to get them to administration in a fashion that we can do something about them if at all possible.
Right. And Buddy and Sarah Joe, I know you're not on the resident council, but what does it mean to you to have a voice, to be able to communicate to the people that are operating the community?
Well, it's very good to have this organization that we individuals don't have to take absolutely everything to administration. We can request certain things of resident council. I was on resident council, excuse me, the first 3 years we lived here. And it was good to serve. I'm glad I'm not on it any longer. But we got some really good folks, and it's very helpful to have the council. And I'm very appreciative of the administration having the foresight to arrange for such an organization.
That's great. I'd also like to mention, before we go any further, there is, for those of you that are watching and attending, there's a little Q&A button down at the bottom of your screen. If you do have a question for any of our resident panelists, feel free to click on that Q&A and just type a message in, and I'll make sure that either we get to that question throughout the webinar, or I'll get to it at the end. So I just wanted to bring that. And what about for you, Susan? Going back to the question about the resident council, what does that mean to you as far as being a resident at Covenant Woods?
I think it's great. I think that they do the very, very best for us. They're very responsive. I know people on the Residents Council work very hard to make sure that everything runs smoothly for us, because after all, they're residents too.
Absolutely, no question. Buddy and Sarah Joe, tell me a little bit about the amenities at Covenant Woods and what you participate in, because I'm sure as a couple, you have different things that you probably both like, but I'd be curious to know what you participate in.
I'm an artist, and when we moved here, a friend who had just moved before I did, Sarah Timish, we started the Open Studio, which meets every Monday afternoon. It's a conglomeration of different art. So we're spending time just making art during that time. The other thing that occupies a lot of my time, which is very good, is I'm chair of the dining committee. And so that meets once a month, and we read comment cards and respond to those.
I was very attracted to the physical area of our campus. There's just a great walking area. In addition to residents who participate in Bob Tate's walking group, it's just a great place here to walk around. But we have a wonderful pond. I think we have a total of 98 acres, so it's a nice choice of things. I was when we first moved here from the fan district, where obviously we didn't have any space for a garden. I did have a garden plot for at least 3 years, maybe 4. Unfortunately, since Sergio and I spent some time away in the summer, we discovered that as things were getting ready for harvest, we were not here to harvest them. So it lost a little of its appeal after a while, but it was a great experience.
Great. And Sarah Joe, one of the things that is a premier feature at Covenant Woods, and we've covered this at length in some of our prior webinars, is the farm to table experience that you have at Covenant Woods. Would you mind just giving us a brief overview of that?
Be glad to. We actually have a manager of that. We call her our farmer. She does an amazing job of planning what is going to be planted and getting with our chefs to talk about what their needs are. And so we harvest food and go to the kitchen, and our chefs make use of it. It's a beautiful thing and attracts a lot of attention, which is nice. I think we're the only CCRC in the area that has such a program. We partnered with Virginia State in Petersburg,
Mhm.
and they have been very helpful in helping us get this started. So they were a teammate.
That's great. And for those of you that haven't been exposed to that, in one of our previous webinars that we had, we actually have a really great video that we posted. And so you can actually go back and watch that as well. And it's also on the website. So Susan, tell us a little bit about what you're involved with as far as the amenities at the community go.
Well, I've been on the New Residence Council. Been a sponsor since, I guess a year after we moved here. Every new resident that moves in is assigned a sponsor. We're there to help them move in, to answer questions, to get them acclimated, to do anything that they need to have done. It really is a very big help, because when you move in, you're kind of like lost, you know. It's nice to have somebody on your side. Going back to what Buddy says about the grounds, I'm on the campus grounds committee. I've been a master gardener for quite a few years. And so we've been involved in that, and there's been a lot of changes that go on, and they're ongoing, and it's getting more and more beautiful as the years go on. The trees are growing, the plants are growing, the flowers are gorgeous. So it's a busy time.
Absolutely. We were just there doing a video and photo shoot about a month and a half ago, and I can't tell you how beautiful the campus is. It really is. It's a nice little bright spot, little oasis that you have there, for
You should
sure.
go back in the spring when the ducks are having babies.
Absolutely.
That's great fun.
We have plans to do that. Hopefully we can. And Bob, what about you? Outside of the resident council, what do you partake in on a daily basis?
When I moved here, Jason, I've been walking basically by myself, and my wife informed me that at my advanced age, I should walk with somebody else from henceforward. And that led to the formation of a wonderful group that we have here. We have about 60 people who've qualified for their shirts. And the shirt is signifying that you're a member of the Holy Souls, HOLEYSOLES. And in order to walk with us, you have to go in order to get your shirt, you have to walk twice with us. We walk about 3 miles every other Tuesday. And as we went along and the popularity of the group grew, we had some folks come to us and say, hey, we can't walk 3 miles, but we want to walk. Can you do something for us? So we now have a second group, which walks about half that distance, and we call them the half souls. So we have the Holy Souls have bright red shirts with the image of a footprint on the front, a Covenant Woods advertisement on the back, and now we have a half soul shirt, which signifies that you're a member of the half souls. So there are about 15 members of the half souls, and they walk on the alternate Tuesdays that the Holy Souls do not walk. We're 6.5 years old, the Holy Souls, in mid-November, and we're working towards our 7th birthday next May.
That's amazing. And that leads right back to the title of this webinar, which is Strength in Community. And it really brings home the point that, having other people around you that have similar interests, have similar ideas about trying to stay healthy, thinking through life a little bit differently, it really does. That's a great activity to allow you to continue that.
Well, we have a lot of fun. There's a lot of just a good relationship with each other.
For sure. Susan, let me turn it back to you. This is going a little bit deeper into the philosophy of this, but how did you go about the decision of deciding to move to Covenant Woods? It's a big decision when you make that decision. And, I'm sure the people that are watching are really curious to know what that decision was like and how you came to the decision to move.
Well, both my husband and I liked gardening, and we liked to play in our yard a lot. And we got to the point that one year my husband turned to me and he said, "This isn't fun anymore. It's too much work." And I knew then he was going to have to give up his love of gardening. So we came to Covenant Woods and looked around. They had brunches and some lunches here and a lot of explanations. And I was very surprised because it was not like him to get into something, but he said, "This is for us. We're going." And we did. My son wanted me to look at other places, and I said, "No, I'm very happy." We saw Covenant Woods, we fell in love with it, and that was it.
And how about for you, Buddy and Sarah Jo?
Well, both of us have had family experiences that suggested to us we needed to be in a situation that our needs would be taken care of, whatever our older age situation turns out to be. And I decided that I wanted to be somewhere by the time I was 75. It turned out that we came here early, and I don't regret a day of it. But Sergio, you mentioned, how did you decide on the Woods?
We had two possibilities, and we visited both of those. When we came here, the marketing department had set up something called Trailblazers, and we met as prospective people for the lodge probably every other month. And you got to know some of the people. And when I sat down at a table next to the person who's now my next door neighbor, I said, "I can do this. And Barclay's just like me." So that was sort of the decision. We were interested in coming into a new place where we were all starting a community and a lodge together. We weren't going into an already formed community, and that meant a lot to us at the time. So we just knew being here on the campus with people that we were going to live with, we knew this was a place for us.
Yeah. And Bob, you mentioned you have quite a few children. How does that play into the decision of moving to a community like this? What's the perspective from your position to decide to move to a community as opposed to, hey, maybe I'll be living with my children at some point?
Strangely enough, the children were not much involved in the decision we made. It was a little different, though, from what some other folks have mentioned. My wife at that time was a second marriage for both of us. I had 4 living kids. Her only son was deceased, and he was the only support other than myself that she had. And we were concerned about what would happen to her if I was not around, and the likelihood of my not being around or going first was pretty likely. So the decision basically was, let's find a great place for both of us to enjoy the final years of our time together. And so that was the big attraction for us.
Understood. Susan, I want to go back and ask you a quick question. You know, we talk about when's the right time to move. And I'm curious on your end, what would you say about when the right time is to move based on where you are in life? Any thoughts on that?
Well, a lot earlier than when I moved in. I could have been enjoying all the amenities here a lot sooner had we not decided, well, we weren't ready for it yet. We were ready for it and didn't recognize it. So I would move in as early as you can and enjoy yourself.
Yeah, one of the myths out there is that a senior living community or a CCRC or a life plan community, however you term it, is there for you when you feel like you're getting to an age where you just can't do things for yourself anymore or something like that. And I always try to help on these webinars and in our marketing communications and the things that we do to try to dispel that myth of, you know, it's a very vibrant community of people who still enjoy activities. They still enjoy the arts. They still enjoy good food. And Covenant Woods clearly is, supportive of all of those things. One of the things that I'd like to ask you is, as a part of that, what are some of the hobbies? I heard you, Sarah Jo, you said you're a painter. What are some of the hobbies, Susan, that you have maybe taken up since you've been at Covenant Woods?
Well, I have joined a group that we just recently started within the last couple of years. It's called Tamari. It's a Japanese embroidery on balls. And we've started out with maybe 3 or 4 people, and it's grown now to quite a bit. We meet every week and we make these drop dead gorgeous Japanese balls that are absolutely beautiful. And I wish that you could get a picture of them so everybody could see. It's fun. It's a lot of camaraderie. It's super.
That's great. What about you, Bob? What are some of the things that you've been surprised about and maybe you've picked up on since you've been there?
Well, it's how easily you can get involved in things that you had no idea you would get involved with. For instance, I happen to live on what we generally regard as the party floor here in Savannah. And one of the things that's developed from that is a Friday morning revival hour in which we play church music for an hour or so. Some of us even sing. We have a housekeeper that joins in at the end. She loves the song, "I'll Fly Away," and she dances and flies away at the end of our session. So that's one thing that I had no idea that I would be a disc jockey for a revival show on Friday mornings. And again, it's something else that keeps you busy. So that's been a big surprise for me.
That's neat. What about you, Buddy and Sarah Jo? What's the biggest surprise that you've had since you've moved there?
Well, one of the things that Ray has mentioned to me, and I think she's right. I have basically been an introvert all my life. And within a year of being here, I became an extrovert. For some reason, my neighbors, the people I relate to every day, I connect with, and I don't have to prove anything to them, because I guess I used to think to the world. It's been a good experience.
That's
It's
great.
been watching the process.
Yeah, for sure. And Susan, I'm curious, what's a typical day in the life like for you? What do you do typically? You get up and then what happens?
Oh, I get up very early. I take my dog out, come back, have coffee. Usually 5 days a week, I go to exercise, come back, have several meetings, visit with friends, go to lunch, take the dog out again, repeat. It's been a wonderful experience. And I do know one thing with the dogs, there's a group of people who have dogs, and we have formed a pet therapy where we go over to healthcare and memory care so that they can see the dogs play. And it's been great. It was put on by the SPCA in Richmond. They qualified our dogs, and people look forward to seeing them. And the dogs love it. They think they're hot stuff.
Of course. That's another myth that I think people need to know is not true, is that, pets are welcomed, and they're welcomed in a way that you certainly wouldn't expect. Not everybody loves pets, but for the most part, a lot of people do. And I appreciate the fact that, when you make a decision to move to a community like that, you're not leaving behind a pet or diminishing the opportunity for a pet to be a possibility in the future as well. That's really neat. It's a neat thing. What about you, Bob? What's your typical day like?
Depends on which day of the week it is. Tuesday is my walking day. That takes up a good part. We started a little tradition, I guess. After we finished walking, we were downtown one day. We walked Monument Avenue, and from one end to the other, basically, and not quite that far, but 3 miles worth. And when I got back in the car, I asked the folks what they want to do for lunch. And a little female voice from the back seat said, let's go back to fireside and have a beer. So having a beer after our walk has been one of our traditions, and I don't know whether they look forward to the walk first and the beer second or vice versa, but that's been a wonderful experience for me on Tuesdays. Wednesdays, I've been involved recently in council meetings, as same thing on Thursday. And Friday, of course, is my music day, playing religious songs. And Monday's the only day I guess I have off, and that somehow seems to get taken up with something. But it's a busy, busy day each week.
And isn't it nice that you can do as little or as much as you want, and it's your choice, you know?
Yes.
I mean, I know you
Yeah.
get some pressure from your other fellow residents who want you to participate in things, but I'm sure that if you need a down day or you just don't feel like doing something, you make that decision and you make it happen, right?
Well, there's one that's pushing me to learn how to play bridge, and I absolutely refuse to get involved in anything else.
Well, based on you getting recruited to the resident council using food, we might want to give that person a food bonus to get you to join the bridge group. That might be something, some Cajun food or something for you.
Well, time will tell.
So Susan, tell me a little bit about your dining experience there. Do you cook at home? Do you eat at the different dining venues that you have? Which dining venues do you like?
I'm probably one of the few people that actually cooks at home. I like to cook. Little by little, I find myself eating in the dining venues more with friends. So thanks to Sarah Jo's guidance and the dining committee, I've gained 10 pounds since I've been here because the food is very, very good. Hence the reason for exercise 5 days a week. The food is fabulous. It really is. Our wait staff they're just like our own kids. They're wonderful.
Yeah. And Buddy and Sarah Jo, you talked about your godchildren, but what does it mean to you to know that each of you will be in a place where, if something does happen to one or the other of you, that the other person still has a very, loving environment to be able to live at?
That's extremely important. The community spirit here is amazing. And you always know that there is someone here to help you do whatever. And that means the world. We have a cottage on the river, which we enjoy going to. And so that's a special place. But here has become home. We lived in the fan in an old house for 40 years. So I never thought that it would be a difference from that, but it is. 6 years here and it's home.
That's great. And what about for you, Bob? As far as family goes, what's it like to know that, the burden, so quote unquote, the burden has been lifted off your children when it comes to them not having to worry about, what's going on with dad, and is he safe? Is he taking care of what's going on with that?
Well, they've accepted it very, very openly, and I think it's been a great thing, taking a load off their minds. And somehow, maybe with 4 of them, they probably feel none of us have to make a decision of who's going to look after dad and who's going to forget about him. But they enjoy coming here and enjoy the time that they're able to share with me here.
Yeah. And Susan, one of the things we hear almost in repetition every time we visit a community like yours is the term, "This is the greatest gift I could have given to my children and my family." Do you feel like that's a true statement?
Absolutely. In spades. Yeah. My kids know that I'm safe here. I'm happy here. And I'm out of their hair.
Okay. We've got a couple of questions I want to run past you. I just want to give you a few. So more information about Farm to Table. We want a little bit more information about Farm to Table. Whoever wants to take that, feel free to take it.
Well, I guess since I'm on the dining committee, I'll take it. It started out a relatively small plot, and every year it has grown. And this past year, it doubled in size. Jen works. She's supposed to be part-time, but she's here all the time. She loves it. She has great planning. She keeps track of everything that we plant. She knows what the chefs want when they want it. So it's a good process that she's established. There are people who volunteer to go up and work in the garden. She relies on those volunteers, and it's a nice outlet for them. And since we can't have community people coming in helping, then she has volunteers that help her on a daily basis.
That's great. Another question is about coming and going from the community. And obviously there are some challenges right now, but let's talk about in general, there's a myth out there that, once you go to a community, they lock the door behind you and you're sort of there. Can you talk about what the reality of that is? Maybe Susan, do you want to chat about that?
No, that's not true. We still go out to eat occasionally. We go shopping. We go visit our friends. So we run around the county.
Anybody else want to chime in on that?
Covenant Woods is 20 minutes from everywhere. You can get to the West End in 20 minutes. You can get down to the Fan District in 20 minutes. I still take classes at the Virginia Museum Studio School. Our church is in town, so we go there. We keep an active in-town life as well as Covenant Woods life. I still have to keep a calendar and look at it to see where I'm supposed to be, which is kind of sad, but true.
Understood. We do have another. Go ahead, Bob.
Joe forgot to mention your 20 minutes from the center of the universe in Ashland. So,
That's exactly right, Bob.
That's a great comment. Someone has asked a question about the recreation and wellness. Can anybody speak on that? Obviously,
Yes.
Susan, you said you do
I
5
can.
days a week.
I'm also on the activities committee, and there's things that go on constantly from early morning to late evening. Every Monday there's a special program where people can come in and present programs, musical, comedy, juggling, piano, gospel choirs. The local high schools will put on productions. And the recreation department plans multiple things for us. And sometimes you have to pick and choose because there's just too many to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I can imagine. What about attending things? Speaking of that, attending things like in the Richmond area, like the symphony or things that are going on. Do a lot of the residents do those kinds of things? Do they head out together as a group and do those sorts of things?
Yes, they run shuttles back and forth. We've been to Ultra. We've been wineries is always a big thing. Different shopping areas. It's wherever there's an opening, Covenant Woods will take us to go.
Yeah.
And it's really fun to go with your friends on those places too. And you don't have to worry about driving back by yourself or going into the city. I wouldn't drive into the city. I'm not as brave as Sarah Jo, but when you can get on the shuttle and go, it's good.
Absolutely. That's nice. Here's a good question about a variety. What type of, let me see how I can phrase this appropriately. The variety of backgrounds that people at Covenant Woods live there, what's that like? The variety, the difference of the melting pot of people that live at Covenant Woods. Is there something special about that variety of people?
It's mind-blowing. The careers that people have had, the variety of things that people have done in their lives. It's very interesting.
Bob, you were getting ready to say something.
everybody here has a story. and trying to find out what those stories are is worth the adventure that you put into it to develop those stories. Everybody seems to have had a background of importance in a different area, and it's just been, I think, one of the best things about coming here is the variety of backgrounds and the interest that you run into with the people that live here and the friends you make along the way.
Absolutely. Susan,
And
do you have
what's
anything to
kind of
fill in
really
on that?
interesting with me in particular, my high school sweetheart lives across the hall from me. Unfortunately, she's married to another man, but it brings back a lot of memories. And what an odd coincidence that was that 75 years later, you wind up across the hall from somebody you went to school with. So,
Wow. Not just somebody you went to school with, but your high school sweetheart. How about that?
yeah, that's
Wow.
kind of tough to take at times. Yeah.
Susan, any thoughts on that topic?
It is, one of the nice things about it is there's so many different conversation areas that we have here. We have a wonderful terrace that has patio furniture on, a fireplace. We sit out there and visit with people. In the winter now, we all sit in front of the fireplace in the living room, and it's people wander in and out, stop to talk, sit down, visit, find out about each other. Really a fascinating place.
That's great. One of the questions that came in is, how about choices and customization of your residences? So your homes, your apartments. And can you talk a little bit about what you've done to make them your own?
Well, you need to talk to Sarah Jo and Buddy about that because I have a beautiful apartment.
All right, let's hear it.
Well, you're able to choose your own flooring, the colors that you use. We brought, obviously because of Sarah Jo and for other reasons, we brought a lot of artwork. And what we didn't bring with us, Sarah Jo is quickly, what space is not being used by what we brought with us, Sarah Jo is quickly filling up. It's been great. Like Susan, I still like to cook, though I love the convenience of being able to walk down the hall to the pub or Vistas, or even come over here to Traditions. But I wanted a stove that functioned well. Many people move here and seldom turn a stove on, so I was able to upgrade to a stove that worked for me, and people were very happy with making their choices possible.
That's great. And so you don't feel, I guess the core of that question is, you don't feel like that you're living in a rented place. You feel like you're living in a home that's yours. Is that a fair statement, Bob?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Tell me, do any of you live in a home as opposed to an apartment? No?
No.
Okay. All right. You're all apartments. So what's that like when it comes to the gardening part of it? You have flower beds as well as the garden as well, correct?
We have flower pots on our patio.
Pots. Okay. Got it. And I'm guessing that you have a lot of flower pots, Sarah Jo?
What did you get?
It was just a guess, What's the transition like going from living at your home prior to moving to a community like you're in now, and then what is that transition like, both emotionally and then also what does it do to your lifestyle?
I think it improves
Susan?
your lifestyle. When I was in a house, I had nice neighbors, but I didn't have close friends, just visiting, from house to house. It's a hard transition, I think, if your mindset is not willing to accept it. By the time you move here, you say, this is what we need, this is what we want, and you accept it. And it's an easy move once you get in here. Just making up your mind.
Buddy and Sarah Jo, any thoughts on that?
We were excited, and we were the first ones in our group in Richmond that made the decision. And it was very hard for our friends to accept that we had made the decision. because many of them should be making the decision, but have postponed that. We also had a big house, so we were sort of holiday central. So we continue to do that at Covenant Woods. We're very fortunate to have an incredible catering department. So we continue to celebrate holidays and have it catered by Covenant Woods. So it makes it very easy. My one piece of advice is don't give away all your china and silver till you move, because you might.
Right. Absolutely.
What about you, Bob?
Being basically an outdoors guy, I thought it was going to be much more difficult for me than what it turned out to be. I grew up on a farm. I've been able to move in a big area all my life, but it's been surprisingly easy. And I had seldom ever lived in an apartment except briefly during my Navy days. But it was very easy, really, as it turned out, to make the adjustment. It was not what I thought it was going to be.
And
Always difficult.
home maintenance is obviously a big load
Yes.
off of your back, right? I mean, you
Yes,
don't have to worry
absolutely.
about even changing light bulbs at this point if you don't want to.
Great.
Well, I tried fixing an electrical problem when I first moved in. I didn't do a very good job, and I was told, "That's our work. You leave it alone, Mr. Dayton," in a very nice way. Okay.
Nice. Okay. I want to do one last question here, unless there are any other questions that come in. And I'll start with you, Susan. We'll go to Buddy and Sarah Jo, and then we'll go to Bob. But the last question I want to ask is, if you had one piece of advice to give to somebody who was considering moving to a community, not just Covenant Woods, but any community, what would that piece of advice be?
Move
Susan,
sooner than you think you should.
do you want to expand on that at all?
I do. I think that too often we think, oh, we'll just shelter in place and we'll just muddle along here. And you're so busy taking care of a house and cleaning the gutters and mowing the lawn and all the rest of it that goes with owning a home, when you could be someplace where people are doing that for you and you can just sit back and enjoy life. And that's what it's all about.
Great. Thank you. Buddy and Sarah Jo?
I agree. One piece of advice that I think both of us would give, though I'm sure Sarah Jo has other thoughts as well, but hire a company that does it all. Hire a company that comes in and packs you up. And in our case, had to store stuff for a month because our hose sold faster than we thought it was going to sell. They came and unpacked us. If we wanted them, they hung our pictures. When they left, they took the empty boxes with them, and everything was set up. Even my ties were put in order, and it doesn't cost that much more. And I just don't be overly concerned about, oh my God, I have to pack this because it might break, blah blah blah. No, let it go and hire someone to do it.
Sarah Jo, any thoughts?
Well, I totally agree. But another is, as Buddy had said earlier, we had set a date. He wanted to be somewhere by the time he was 75. We actually moved earlier than that. So it was have a plan. Have a plan that excites you about moving in here. Because where you go, you have to have the mindset of, yes, this is going to work.
Absolutely.
And not that, oh, I had to do this. No, it's your choice. And as Susan said, make it earlier than later.
And Bob, what's your piece of advice for somebody who's thinking about this?
Sarah Jo
prospect?
just sort of stole my thunder, but
Sorry,
it's
Bob.
much like I tell people that are unhappy about things. When you wake up in the morning, you can decide whether it's going to be a great day or whether it's going to be a terrible day. Once you decide that you're going to move, go into it with a positive attitude that it's going to work, it's going to be the best step I ever made, and I can't wait to get there. And that would be, to me, the greatest thing you can do for yourself.
That's a great way to leave it. I'd like to thank all of you for joining us today. You're providing some insights to the people out there in the public that they don't normally get to hear. And it's an honesty clearly that comes from you that goes beyond just marketing or the sales talk or things like that. And so I'd just like to thank you all for taking time out of your day to come and do this. It does mean a lot, I know, to Covenant Woods in general. Certainly means a lot to Anna and her team. But I appreciate the time that you've spent with us today. And what I'd like to do now is turn it back over to Anna and let her close us out. So thank you, Anna, for the time, for letting us put this on. And for those of you panelists that are on, thank you again for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Jason.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jason, for leading us today, and to all the panelists. This has been so much fun for me. It was great to learn more about each of you. So happy that you're here. For our guests that are watching, we do have one more webinar that will be in January. So please keep an eye out for those emails that will come your way. We'll be talking about dollars and cents. So again, appreciate your time today and look forward to seeing you again, and hope you all have a great week.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Anna.
you.
Okay.
All right, if my panelists will just hold on 1 second.
I've disappeared again.
Hold on, Bob.
We can still see you. That's what's so weird.
I moved this thing every two minutes, every
It
2
didn't-
minutes.
It didn't like us at all, did it? Sorry about that.
Okay, my video can't start, but you
I'm
got,
getting you there. Hold on. I'm getting you there. Give me a second.
okay.
Looks different there, doesn't it?
Okay, go for it. You should be able
My
to launch your camera now.
Yeah.
You did pretty good.
It's discussion, if you want to add anything.
Okay, well, let me see. My camera won't start, but you guys were rock stars. That was amazing.
Mhm.
That was
Yes, it was.
such, that was
It was
such
fun.
great
Good.
content.
Couldn't be-
Hey,